Hey kids, it's Mr. Fly here, hope you're well. Out and about on another bike today. It's another BMW I'm going to be reviewing, and it's one that I've been looking forward to riding for some time because it's at the lower end of the capacity range. This is the new G310R, which is a departure for BMW, but they've never made a bike with such a small engine, or certainly not since I've been riding bikes. So it's going to be really interesting to see what this bike is like. So stick around, stay tuned for the next few minutes, and I'll tell you my first impressions review of the BMW G310R. So this bike then is very squarely aimed at either the new rider or the commuter or town rider, so it seems only fitting to start with on this review to take it through town and see how she does. And one of the first things that strikes me about the bike is just its lightweight. We'll go through the specs in detail when I do a walk round shortly, but in terms of handling, the thing is so light. In traffic it would be absolutely brilliant. Single cylinder 310-ish cc engine, so it makes a great noise, and it's just so light and flickable. It makes for a good fun ride. There's an awful lot to be said for small capacity bikes, I have to say. I'm a huge fan. I just like riding my 250cc Honda around because it has similar characteristics in that it's lightweight. Doesn't have as much go as this, I have to say. You have to work the gearbox, but it goes absolutely fine. So from a practical point of view, one of the things that strike me, well, it's very, very comfortable. Seating position is sort of halfway between upright and sporty, in that I'm sat upright, but my legs are at a slightly acute angle, but it's not extreme in any way. It's very comfortable. The seat strikes me as super comfortable. Mirrors work really well. These are the same mirrors as I've got on my GS, and great view behind, very confidence inspiring in terms of awareness. And I have to say, even though I've been riding the bike for a short while, it just feels like it works. It's like an old pair of slippers. I already feel completely confident on it, as if I've been riding it forever. As I mentioned, this bike is partly aimed at new riders as well. It's A2 licence friendly, and if they're in the UK, basically, if you start out riding and you're not over 25, I think it is, you have to start with on bikes that are less than a certain horsepower, and this bike fits within that category. And what a great way to learn your craft on a bike like this. There's so many more exciting bikes around now for new riders than there used to be. So well done BMW for getting into that market. It's lovely down here. This is Maidenhead Riverside. I often come down here just for a ride. Beautiful part of the country. Shame it's not a bit warmer though. This bike is a BMW through and through. The build quality is lovely. It's got the usual sort of switch gear that I'm familiar with. The LCD display is lovely and clear. It's got everything you need to know on there. It's got a rev counter at the bottom. It's got a fuel gauge on the left, I'm glad to say. Not all bikes have those, and I don't know why they're missed out. It's got a gear position indicator as well, which I quite like, and it's very clearly laid out. It just works. There's nothing complicated about this bike. As I say, it's got no fancy riding modes or outrageous electronics thrown at it. It's just a proper, honest motorcycle. It does have ABS, of course, as all Euro 4 compliant bikes have to have, and that, to my mind, is a great confidence inspirer. Why wouldn't you have ABS on a bike? Suspension is nice and forgiving in that it gives you a really comfortable ride, but the handling isn't at all compromised by that. It's the sort of bike you can just throw around the corners and have a lot of fun on, you know, exploring the limits. Build quality is classic BMW. Everything is just nicely finished. It just feels tight, although again it should do on this bike, it being brand new. The bike was launched a few months ago, I think just before Christmas, but it's only been around in the dealers to ride for the last couple of weeks, so it's really nice to get out on it. And it's nice to ride a bike that, although it's built by BMW, it's built in India, which can be a controversial point. I don't know why, of course, because it's a BMW factory and it still complies with all the BMW quality checks and so on. But of course it does mean that they can get the price down. And this bike comes in at something like £4,300 on the road, which is incredibly cheap. It's just a few £100 more expensive than the Honda 125. But although the Honda's a fine learner bike, this is so much more fun. Just got that bit more power that makes it more usable in the real world. Well, it's probably not a bike that you're going to want to take on motorways very much, but for riding to work and dealing with town traffic, perfect. The little engine is really sweet actually, in that for a single cylinder machine you'd think it'd be real thumpy and vibraty, but there's no vibration. It's really quite smooth. They've done some clever work on balancing the engine. Right, let's see if I can park up here and show you around the bike. Oh, it's so lightweight, it's like riding a bicycle. Brilliant. Here we go then, the BMW G310R. Cool looking little machine, I have to say, really funky. I think they've got the styling spot on of this bike. Okay, let's go through the specs then. I'll get my other camera out and give you a better view. Okay, here we go then, the BMW G310R. As I say, funky looking little bike. I think they've got the styling spot on this. It looks really good. Okay, so in terms of spec then, it's an A2 friendly beginner bike, if you like. First time, as I say, BMW have dipped their toe into this sort of category. I think it looks really cool. Looks almost like a mini S1000R. In terms of the engine, it's a 313cc single cylinder. One of the interesting things about it, if you look up close, is that it's kind of mounted back to front, in that the exhaust comes out the back as opposed to the front with pipes round, which is quite interesting. Puts out 34 brake horsepower at 9,500 RPM and 21 foot-pounds of torque at 7,500. And I must say, when I was riding it slowly through town just now, there was no complaining. It felt very torquey. There's none of that sort of judder you sometimes associate, particularly with single cylinder machines. It handles really nicely slowly, so torquey little engine actually. Weight-wise, 185 kilograms, so very light. I think that's the dry weight, but as I mentioned, it feels a bit like a bicycle when you're riding it, but you just don't have to pedal, which is fantastic. Very, very accessible bike. The seat height is just 785 millimeters, so ideal for shorter riders or smaller riders or females even, dare I say. In terms of the tank, that's have a look at that, 11 litres that'll hold. And BMW claim that you'll get 85 miles per gallon out of it, so a frugal little machine to run. And a great design tank as well, got those nice sculpted bits that mean you can get your legs under them. The cost on the road, as I say, £4,290, so really good value bike. Cheapest in its class, and only £500 more than the Honda CBR 125, which is incredible. In terms of brakes, it's got pretty good brakes actually. It's got those baby Brembos on the front. These are 4-pot calipers, and they feel good. And then you've got the single-pot bi-bray brakes at the back as well. Have a quick look at the controls. Nothing complicated or fancy. It's got what I call proper controls on here. These, feel really good when you use them. They're properly tactile feedback. They're not what I call the PCB switches. When you use these, they've got a good clunk, and you can feel that you've actually, activated the switch. And there's the LCD dash that's really clear. So there we have it. That's pretty much it. For the bike. I suppose its rivals are things like the KTM 390 Duke, which is a little bit more powerful but costs a bit more, or things even like the Ducati Scrambler 62, but that's £6.5 grand, so in a different league cost wise. Alright, enough chat, let's jump back on, ride us some more. Okay, before I can ride her anyway, I'm going to have to turn around, so good chance to see what it's like to manoeuvre. Got these little grab handles at the back, which makes things nice and easy. And wow, even though I'm on a bit of an incline here, really easy to manoeuvre, as you'd expect for such a light bike. Amazing turning circle as well, look at that 3-point turn basically. Brilliant. Sturdy little stand. Like I say, nothing intimidating about this bike at all. Easy to ride, practical. Why would you buy a car if you lived in London and you just needed to get around, when you could have one of these? Brilliant. You do have to work the gearbox a little bit, but that's part of the fun of riding, isn't it? Talking of the gearbox, It's got a really nice feel to it. It's very positive. You know when you got her into gear, and there's no clunkiness whatsoever. The clutch action is very, very light on it. Can't get over the comfort on this bike actually. It really is a comfortable riding position. Feels actually, riding position wise, like a much bigger bike. I think you can do a lot of miles on this and you'll be very comfy. The exhaust looks pretty horrible on it, but it sounds great. Handling is great on this. As I said, you can just sort of chuck it into corners and you can tell what the wheels and the tyres are doing all the time. Clutch is really light. It's cable activated, but it's feels more like a hydraulic clutch to me in that it's so light. It's really refreshing to ride one of these lightweight, simple bikes. I must admit, I'm very tempted to get something like this, possibly to replace my CRF. So let's just try those brakes. Yeah, they're fine. I mean, they're certainly not the sort of brakes that pop your eyes out, but they're adequate for such a light bike. And that coupled with the ABS means you can grab a big handful if you want to. You're not going to get into any trouble. Nothing behind me. Let's just try the back brake. Yeah, back brake works absolutely fine. And when you wind her up, she goes absolutely fine. Slow down a bit as I come into the 30. So that's pretty much it for my review of the BMW G310R. Splendid little bike, I have to say. I can't, there's nothing about it that I don't like. You have to work the gearbox quite hard and you have to wind her up a bit to get her going, but it doesn't feel like there's any lack of power. The handling is lovely, lightweight, everything works as it should do in terms of it's very easy to ride, the clutch is light, the mirrors work well, the seat is really comfortable and the riding position is really comfortable. Economical to run. At 85 miles per gallon you could run this thing on peanuts. Absolutely brilliant if you're on a budget. And as I mentioned, A2 beginner friendly as well, so if you're new to riding and you want to learn your craft, then this is definitely one to have on your list to test ride. So if you live in this area at all, pop down to Bahnstormer at Maidenhead, which is where I borrowed this, and have a chat to the lads there, and they'll let you have a go on this very bike, I'm sure. Must just thank the lads at Bahnstormer, Aldo and crew, for letting me borrow yet another bike from them to have a ride on and to do this review. Really enjoyed it, as you can tell. And I think, I'm not lying to say, of all the small capacity bikes I've ridden, this is my favourite to date. Brilliant little bike. So I hope that's been of some interest to you. And I look forward to speaking to you next time. Until then, this has been the Mr. and Fly. Cheerio.